Welcome to Airstream Wheeler. Please comment, like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more content.
Here.
This is Dreamboat's engine. It's a Chevy 350 block. So far we've replaced the alternator, starter down here, the fuel pump low on that side, the water pump, which is the front of the motor where you see the fan spinning, parts inside the distributor, spark plugs. This is a slightly used 4-barrel Holley carburetor that we replaced. But we're still having some small problems with getting the right voltage out of the alternator. Maybe it's a bad ground. I'm going to try to work on that a little bit. The fan belt's been replaced up front here. The fuel filter has been replaced. We've actually replaced the second one that's right off the tank. We've been struggling with getting garbage coming off the bottom of the tank. When we drive them, it stirs it up and it comes up through the fuel filter. It's basically the same motor you'll find in any 70s Corvette or Camaro. The only difference is this thing weighs about 10,000 pounds and Shanna drives it like it's a 10,000 pound Corvette. So you can hear this thing coming from about a mile away, and for quite a while because it's really not very fast. So what we're working on today is an electrical problem. Either a parasitic draw, maybe a bad ground on the alternator. I'm gonna try and figure that out. All right, so what I'm testing right now is if I've got a good ground between the casing of the alternator and the body of the Airstream itself. And so if I touch the probes together, I've got a good connection. So if I touch two parts on the casing, I've got a good connection. If I touch the casing and I touch up here on top of the motor, there should be a continuous metal connection between them. And I do have a good connection, so the casing of the alternator is grounded. Right now we've got about 13, almost 14 volts at idle, and what I want to see is over 14 volts when it idles up. All right, I've got to look it up, but I think that's a good amount of voltage out of this alternator when the engine is revved up a little bit. So after running for a few minutes, the battery is registering 12.14 volts. May not be enough to turn over the engine.
Ready?
Yep. So when we start the motor, the voltage that we see at the battery goes up to 12.9 something, and up is good, but it should be higher than that. What I'm gonna do here is use the Jackery to charge up our battery and see what kind of voltage this battery will actually hold without any kind of parasitic draws draining it down. So after taking quite a while to analyze the battery, this charger is now putting in about 4 amps, and it's recognizing the voltage on the battery to be about 9.8. And that's from sitting overnight with our kill switch accidentally off. So when we shut it off yesterday, there was about 12 volts in the battery, and that's been drained down to under 10 just from sitting overnight. And we've been trying to figure out what's doing that, and so far, no luck. This is a fusible link coming off the alternator. Testing it, it appears to be intact. That could have been one of the things lowering the amperage coming off the alternator. I now need to trace the wires further down and see if I've got any chafe points or anything that might cause a problem down there. So the kill switch is off, which means you don't actually need to disconnect the battery because that does the same thing. Had the alternator tested, and it's kind of ambiguous as to whether it's producing enough amperage or not. Definitely not at idle. particularly if we use the headlights, it's very obvious, but not even, it doesn't even take that much draw to get it, the battery too low to actually start the motor. So off it comes and we'll try a new one.
See that guy circling dreamboat? Thumbs up.
Mm-hmm. He said, I like that. And I said, thanks. Okay. And out it comes. It's 2018. Not particularly old for how much mileage it's seen, but it's not producing the voltage it should or the amperage that it should. Our old alternator wasn't very old, but Napa's replaced it for free, so I'm pretty happy about that. I'm gonna put this one in now and see if we can do a little bit better with this one. I'm trying to get the bolts hand tight before I put the belt on. How this works is it rotates like this, and the belt tension, once the belt is on, the belt tension is adjusted by where this is tightened. So I'm gonna get the bottom one closer to tight first. The top one will adjust, and we'll adjust the belt tension to the best of our ability. It may squeal when we start it up the first time, and we'll come back and adjust the tension again if it's not right. And I'm just prying the alternator into place, and I'm gonna come back and tighten it. Did you get that?
Oh yeah.
Jingle bells. We've got coolant lines out of the way. This plug is easy to plug in. It goes right here. This wire takes a nut to hold it on, and then there's a boot that covers it so that it doesn't arc to anything. So just dropped a nut, and what are the odds of that happening again? Wiggle this little boot back into place. Kill switch on. Fuel filter secured back to keep it out of the fan.
Ready?
I think so.
Oh, that's loud.
Gonna go with it right now.
Alright.
Problem solved. The alternator that seemed like it was working wasn't quite working. The new one that we've just replaced has us at 12.76 volts after driving around for probably a total of about 10 miles with a couple starts and stops, and it started easy versus fighting us, and so I think we've solved the problem. It was a bad alternator.
Please comment, like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more content.